Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks. Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try and make your world a little weirder. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Niall.
And with us today, we have hole expert Garrett in the room.
I'm in them. I'm around them every day of my life.
Garrett
Holes, all about them.
He's all the time around me going, well, I've identified about a dozen holes today.
It's a hole.
Yep, that's a hole. He says to me. There was a lot of hole talk before we started recording.
I got
this kind of came out of nowhere for our listeners, but it didn't come out of nowhere for us as human beings.
My autobiography is Hole Boy, and it's illustrated by Mike Mignola.
I'm taking Louis Sakar to fucking court. That was the writer of Holes, right?
I don't fucking know.
I thought that was J.K. Rowling.
Oh yeah, you're right. No,
J.K. Rowling wrote Holes.
Yeah, the notorious turf J.K. Rowling.
No. Anyway.
Hey, we got Garrett in the house, which is a treat. There's been reasons why we can't have Garrett here for a while now, but we finally got him back up, slapped him around a little bit.
Mostly it was the warrant out for Garrett.
Yeah, his arrest.
I escaped from quarantine.
Yes. Yeah.
All the crazies. I don't know.
I don't know.
All Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Picture it in your mind. Put me in the driver's seat.
Yes.
And you've pretty much got it.
Garrett had a Chronicles of Riddick escape from Butcher Bay situation.
I had a Riddick moment.
He had a Riddick moment. But we finally got him back up here. Now, to kick this one off, I have a very brief thing that I would like to bring up because we got an email from consummate listener, Weird John.
Hey, Weird John.
Informing us of the fact that so they said, hey guys, in light of your recent Bigfoot episode, you might be interested in this article. Linked to an article that has been discussed in the Circle of Weird for a couple days now. OSBI, Oklahoma noodler confesses to killing fellow fishermen over Bigfoot fears.
Yeah.
Which was basically this dude who claimed that he was afraid that his noodling partner was going to feed him to Bigfoot, and so he killed him.
And noodling is catfish fishing, if I'm correct, right?
They reach in the mud. They go into all kinds of wet, slippery holes.
Stick your arm in a hole.
Garrett's familiar with the process because of his whole expertise.
It was a minor.
Right.
In university.
Noodling.
Yeah.
Major in holes, minor in noodling. So yeah, you're of course familiar. But yeah, this guy's I think not just going to prison, but getting the death sentence. By the way.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So killed his buddy.
I guess confessing
that was my other minor.
Yeah.
People getting put into holes.
Right. So
eventually I will also be picking up that section of
excellent.
That man's
Yeah.
life.
So
fantastic.
this story is very much in your wheelhouse. So thank you, Weird John, for the news article.
My holes are salivating.
You're dripping wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this week with Garrett back in the mix, I felt compelled to return to an older topic. Partly because I went back and listened to the topic because I had a suspicion that I ran across some new information about this thing, and I was like, I don't think I did a good job covering this. I went back, all three of us were on this episode together, and I listened to it, and I went, yeah, I did a very poor job talking about this. And it was an unfortunate fact of the matter. So I'm here to rectify that.
He was crying. I saw
do
Kyle
like
throw up.
That we're attempting to liberate web redemption from the clutches of Daniel Tosh. We're doing our own web redemption here on It Gets Weird.
This is the new web redemption arc of It Gets Weird, inspired by Daniel Tosh. We're gonna also kind of take a lot of notes from his sort of humor stylings. So we're gonna play audio from viral clips of videos, and then we'll say something off color about it. So
a little bit offensive.
yeah,
Just like fun, just the fun kind of light offense.
Yeah.
You know?
Enough to make a crowd go, oh.
yeah, we're
Enough that you don't have to write a lot of actual jokes.
right, exactly. You could say we could think of all kinds of things to say. So we'll get to that segment later. But I've been deep in the online trenches reading about conspiracies, UFOs, and cryptids lately. But when I saw this particular topic pop back up in the way that it did, I knew I needed it back in my life.
Okay.
And I want to recover all the shit I did poorly. We were too belligerent when we recorded this one,
Of course.
and we were too green.
Okay.
I think you'll all understand when I say it is time for Revenge of Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God.
Which
Oh
I
my
believe
God.
we specifically said we needed to do a part 2 anyway when we
yes,
recorded the first
we
episode.
said we needed to do a part 2, but here's the thing. I'm just gonna say, scrap it, fuck it. We're doing this one. I mean, I know people like that episode, but we don't get to a lot of the actual topic. And we're basically just like yelling at each other the entire episode. So, now that we're older, wiser, and a little more calm in our old age of 30 years old minimum.
It's the Great Ranch debacle, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is the Great Ranch debacle. There's a lot of yelling about ranch at Garrett. Things have changed since then.
Garrett, I need you and I to
People
make
have grown. I haven't done any growth whatsoever because I have always been in the right.
Yeah.
I was the victim.
I need you to look at me.
Yeah.
We need to make a solemn vow right now that we're gonna make this episode worse than the first one.
Please don't.
We need to pick a different sauce.
I cannot even begin.
Honey mustard.
We're taking Aioli to task today.
Aioli.
No,
Ooh.
but we all like aioli.
But are we talking about a true Aioli or the more modern bastardized mayo version?
Well, what's a bat? I don't know.
So a
what's the
true aioli
difference?
is just garlic and olive oil that you put together till it emulsifies, and then I think like a little bit of lemon or whatever the fuck. Whereas like now it's like
Oh.
mayo with garlic added. For
I think
a lot
I've
of
only
restaurants.
had the Red Robin Bastard aioli.
I'm going bastard aioli because there's a reason that it's become this. This
Yeah,
is
it's
an
really good.
idealized version.
It's evolved. You're saying?
Yeah.
Sort of.
It's been domesticated.
Well, domesticated aioli. Well, we can really. Do you guys want to just kind of focus up on the aioli thing instead? Because like I do have
we
a lot of
Skinwalker
notes
Ranch
here.
Get
We
it out of
did
here.
kinda
Canceled.
sort
Aioli opinions.
We kind of sorted the Aioli stuff out pretty quickly here, though. So
That's
I think
true.
we might be able to move on with the
That's
episode.
true.
One
yeah.
and done. Easy.
Yeah, I cringe pretty fucking hard when I look back on that episode. From me, I cringe at myself very hard. But let's get into this topic. And I kind of want to breeze over some of the basic things that were covered in that one. So first, the idea of the Skinwalker in popular culture is a bit divorced from its origins as a Native American Navajo legend. The short version is that a Skinwalker is typically thought of as a witch or shaman who can shapeshift into animals. And a Skinwalker is typically pure evil, often killing and hurting people. But as you guys might remember, the Navajo are pretty reluctant to discuss the legend of the Skinwalker with outsiders, probably with good reason. It's a lot of people will say like they truly believe in this legend, and invoking it is like negative vibes essentially, right? Like you don't
bad
want to
juju.
talk about it. Yeah. So but as a result, that means that a lot of details about the actual Skinwalker legend within Navajo lore are not very well known. But regardless, this is where the Skinwalker Ranch gets its namesake, and a bunch of people have kind of expanded. And when I say a bunch of people, I mean white people have really expanded on the lore of the Skinwalker.
The fucking crackers again.
Yeah. So we got mixed up in all that business, but now we have a ranch about the whole situation. but it's also called it's
Playing
Skinwalker
with
Ranch.
fire.
Yeah. I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying.
I believe that's how we got it. We fell
That
into
is
this trap.
yeah.
This is exactly how we got into it last time.
We
I'm
didn't
stepping
learn.
delicately around the whole. I mean, you said it. White people ranch. It's hard to, it's hard to.
It's
not,
hard to divorce the two.
Yeah. So
Because they don't believe in divorce.
What-
Don't worry
white
about it.
people.
Yeah, a lot of them. No. Politics. Let's go.
Catholics.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think it's a specific type of white people. I know plenty of white
It's a
people who
specific
really believe.
breed.
Yeah, I know plenty of white people who really believe in divorce. There's some extremely divorced ass white people, is what I'm saying. So it's Skinwalker Ranch, but it's also known as Sherman Ranch, although nobody fucking calls it this. Nobody at all.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Nobody calls it that. But it's also occasionally referred to as UFO Ranch. It is a 512-acre ranch near Ballard, Utah, in a southeastern area known as the Utah Basin. It's surrounded by mountains. It's pretty desolate. The area has a history of turbulence between the Ute and the Navajo in the area. It's basically a volatile hotspot for negative energies, if that's the sort of thing you believe in.
Bad vibes.
Bad.
Kenny.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the lore about the place comes from the Native American tribes, in particular the Ute in the area. In fact, the Ute referred to the location as the Path of the Skinwalker, and stories of strange happenings supposedly date back to the early 1900s. So on the official Skinwalker Ranch website, there's, I guess, a newspaper reported a case of quote-unquote strange noises all the way back in 1906, although that's pretty vague. But when you read the news clip that's from, it cites something about rumblings resembling explosions or distant thunder.
Okay. I feel like back then, I know now we have like a lot of news to fill. Was that really enough of like a news thing back then so it had to have been pretty intense.
It's like a couple paragraphs and the entire story is just people being like, yeah, we heard weird rumblings out in the Utah Basin. Who knows what was going on? And that's the extent of it. No joke.
Hard-hitting journalism.
Yeah. So
1906.
1906, you got nothing to do other than hoop and stick and read the newspaper. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So in 1934, Kenneth and Edith Myers purchased the land. And here's what's interesting about the original owners of the Skinwalker Ranch.
They're not named Sherman?
They're not. No, the Shermans come later.
Okay.
They're the reason Skinwalker Ranch is known, the Shermans. We'll get to them. But what's interesting about these original owners is that they lived there for 6 decades, and they never once reported a single paranormal or extraterrestrial phenomena.
Oh.
Not once. 6 decades, nothing. There's a book called The Utah UFO displayed by an author named Frank B. Salisbury, who also, for some reason, this guy is a plant physiologist.
He's the inventor of the Salisbury steak.
He's the inventor of the Salisbury steak. His passions were steak, plants, and UFOs. That's his whole thing.
Honestly, that's a well-rounded life.
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
Kind of me.
You're
Kinda Garrett.
Yeah, true. We're not that far off. But I feel like that really gives you a lot of variety. So if you get kind of get fed up in one thing, you get to really shift into a different category.
And as a UFO author, people in the UFO community can point to him and say, well, he was interested in 3 different things. So it's much more believable.
Yeah. And also he's really good at like helping to like round out a bring your own dish kind of UFO convention meal.
Exactly.
He always brings a protein.
Exactly.
Not just like napkins or cups or some shit.
Yeah,
It's
he's
funny
bringing.
because Salisbury steaks are round and can be on a dish. So
I love that we have just accepted in canon that this man is the inventor of the Salisbury steak, which he is most definitely not in reality.
Look, we can't make
slightly
this episode,
altered universe.
we can't have this episode be entirely on the rails.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, in the book, The Utah UFO Display by Salisbury, there's an interview with Garth Myers, brother of ranch owner Kenneth Myers. We got a little bit of history of the Myers' ownership of the ranch from the book in an interview Salisbury got with Garth. So it says, Garth's brother and sister-in-law, Kenneth John Myers and Edith Childs, had purchased the ranch around 1933. Garth, who was 88 years old at the time of my interview, was much younger than his brother. He had actually worked on the ranch for 3 summers as a teenager. Kenneth and Edith began with about 160 acres and accumulated their other parcels until they had formed the 480-acre ranch, living in quite primitive conditions at first, but improving things through the years. They had one child who died in infancy before they moved to the ranch. There were no other children. Kenneth died in 1987 at age 86, but his widow continued to live on the ranch for 5 years until she was taken to a rest home. For 2 years, the ranch was vacant, but always leased out to other ranchers to farm and run cattle even before Kenneth died. Then, when Edith died on March 3rd, 1994, the ranch reverted to Garth Myers and his sisters, Helen Baxter and Lapreel Polson. Less than 3 months later, Garth, as executor of the Kenneth and Edith Myers estate, negotiated sale of the ranch to the witness family, the Shermans.
Okay.
In the actual interview section, Garth, the brother of the owner, says this, quote, "I can tell you right off that my brother died in April of 1987. My sister-in-law lived alone there until about 1992. She died in March 1994. And I can tell you unequivocally that up to 1992, there had never been and there never were any signs of UFO and similar activity."
This episode's turning into a bit of a downer. I'm waiting for there to be actual UFO encounters.
Oh,
I know we get there, but
when the Shermans move in,
but we're straight up like 60 years into this place's past. There's nothing. There's not a fucking
and the
thing.
thing is, there is a little bit of retroactive UFO history making in this area.
Yeah, because I feel like in any documentary I've seen that like tries to talk about this stuff, that they talk to locals and they're like, yeah, this place has always been having like a hot spot for all this stuff.
There is a quote unquote local historian who's also just like a UFO guy, by the way, that we'll get into later, but he will like basically bring up retroactive insertions into history of UFO encounters in the area. Just like, and there is some truth to it, but I feel like the reason that there are a million bajillion stories in the Utah Basin about UFOs and the paranormal is because the Sherman debacle. Yeah. That's how I kind of read it.
So Garrett, did you cover retroactive insertions in your whole degree?
That was an advanced class that I didn't take.
That's in the master's program?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's plenty of...
It is just a bachelor's, so...
Is that a BA or a BS?
It's a BS.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bunch
Come
of
on,
BS.
it's a whole degree. He knows. Yeah, it's it's a bunch of BS.
So the ranch was practically unknown to the public until after the next family moved in. So in 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased the ranch and moved in with their 2 children. Based on the articles I've read, it seems that the activity doesn't start immediately. It seems to start sometime around 1990, like later in 1994. But then there are some reports that claim it starts day one.
Okay.
It's a little conflicting. I don't quite know for sure. And then in 1996, the Shermans went public with their experiences in the Utah newspaper, the Deseret News, in an article titled "Frequent Flyers." So we're gonna a lot of the stories that you know about this place come from this article and the Shermans speaking out.
Okay.
So for more than a year now, the Shermans' 480-acre ranch just south of Fort Duchesne in Utah County.
You almost said Duchovny.
I almost said Duchovny. I almost did. In Utah County has been a hotbed for UFOs and bizarre paranormal activity. Weirdness that even the Shermans, who have witnessed the strange happenings with their own eyes and video camera, have trouble accepting as reality. For a long time, we wondered what we were seeing, if it was something to do with a top-secret project, said Terry Sherman, who reluctantly agreed to speak publicly about the activity for the first time. I don't know really what to think about it. The Shermans, their teenage son and 10-year-old daughter, have seen 3 specific types of UFOs repeatedly during the past 15 months. A small box-like craft with a white light, a 40-foot-long object, and a huge ship the size of several football fields.
So we got like scout ship, regular ship, mothership.
Yes.
Okay.
There's some pretty unique UFO descriptions in this story. They've seen one craft emit a wavy red ray or light beam as it flies along. They've seen other airborne lights, some of which have emerged from orange circular doorways that seem to appear in midair.
Okay.
And they've videotaped 2 of the sightings. They once discovered 3 circles of flattened grass, each about 8 feet across, in a triangular pattern about 30 feet from each other. In a nearby pasture, other strange soil impressions have been found. Circles about 3 feet wide and a foot or 2 deep, with the dirt in the center perfectly flattened. One of the flying lights followed Gwen's car on her way home from work one night. And while out in one of the fields with the family dogs, Terry heard male voices speaking an unfamiliar language. The voices seemed to be about 25 feet above him, but Terry couldn't see a thing. The dogs were frantic. They barked and growled before running off to the ranch house, Terry said. That was one that we covered on the original episode. That's kind of the extent of it, is he just was like, there was something talking in an unknown language 25 feet above me.
Now, how many languages can this man identify?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that the way it gets brought up,
speaking Czech.
yeah, these were entities from the Czech Republic, where all UFOs actually, it turns out, come from.
It's really weird.
Yeah,
That they're like the number one export of Czechoslovakia is UFOs.
yeah, they kind of bring this up a lot, and a lot of people online will like theorize that that they were speaking some sort of Native American language.
Okay.
Is what people say, but there's like nothing to go by to there's like no evidence of that. It's just that because of the region and the lore surrounding it, that's what the conclusion people kind of jump to.
I mean, I guess that like the fact that there's these like just portals in the sky and shit that are, and so there's someone just like speaking up in the sky is interesting. And like the whole like flat bottomed like circular things that they keep finding, like I know that you like that those are man-made of some kind, but
I love
it is interesting
though.
Everybody loves a crop circle. Nobody it's impossible to hit a crop circle.
Yeah.
Except when you find out that some asshole made it. Some dickhead in England went around with a
I wish I could get like a plush stuffed animal of a crop circle.
You could probably make
Like
that work.
like a field. with
so
a
like get
little
like the
impression.
design pattern and
Yeah.
and make it into, I mean, that's kind of
Make it into a little guy.
It's kind of like fucking, oh god, it would have been really great if I could remember the name of the Pokemon that had all the different versions.
The Nazca Lines Pokemon, is that what
No,
you're
the one that
That's
was
Sigilif.
all black and it was like just different like symbols.
Unknown.
Yeah, there we go.
Unknown. Yeah, you could get
Just get unknown plushies.
Oh, there needs to be
Yeah,
an
it's
unknown
true.
in the form of a crop circle.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
Pokemon hit me up.
kind of
Game
is.
Freak. Is it still Game
Oh.
Freak?
Yeah. Well, yes. I think Game Freak's
Yeah.
still involved.
Hit me
The
up.
Pokemon Company.
Yeah, the Pokemon
International.
companies all that they may not be called Game Freak anymore. They may just be the Pokemon Company. Or no, Game Freak made their own game.
I think they're two separate entities now.
Okay, they're different things. So the
Fair.
Pokemon Company, Game Freak went off to make some RPG bullshit like a year or
Oh,
two
yeah.
ago. So I don't know. That I think Pokemon Company's split off. Look. Let's
I didn't mean to
No,
cause like an
it's okay.
existential Pokemon crisis.
It's okay. We got
Wasn't it
Aoli.
called like Town or some shit like that. It was
Yeah,
something-
the other game that they made. Yeah.
Yeah. We this episode,
Nobody cares. Give us more Pokemon. That's all we want.
This episode's
know
gonna
this by
be Aoli and Pokemon themed, in contrast with the
Yeah.
ranch theme of the original.
And the common denomination of all those things? Holes.
That's true.
Let's go.
I was gonna say Garrett.
Oh, that's fine.
Holes me one in the same.
Holes, Garrett.
Hand in
it's
hand.
basically yeah.
Hole
This
in
hole
hole.
was made for me. That's my Valentine to you this year. No, that already happened. That happened like months ago. Next year, you're getting a Valentine that says this hole was made for me, and it's gonna be me climbing into a big Garrett shaped hole, pointing at it, and then I come out the other side looking like a fucked up freak.
Like a weird beef jerky man.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. The Shermans have linked the sightings with the death or disappearance of 7 of their cows. 4 have disappeared without a trace. 3 others have been found dead and partially mutilated. We've seen the UFOs enough, and we know pretty much what the craft look like, and I think it's definitely associated with the cattle mutilations. When we see the crafts and then the cattle, we have problems, Sherman said. The ranch sat idle for 7 years after the previous owners passed away, and it took a while for the Shermans to remodel the old house and move in. Before they took up residence, Terry noticed one of the strange circular depressions in the pasture west of the house. He assumed someone had removed a tree. In April of 1995, the family got a taste of what was to come. Terry stepped out of the house to check on a cow that was calving in the field south of the house when he noticed lights in the field. He assumed they belonged to recreation vehicles, maybe kids from a neighboring farm riding four-wheelers. That didn't make a lot of sense, though. The ranch is isolated, 3 miles from the main road, and access is cut off by a creek and a huge rock ridge. It went clear down here and just above where this cow's mutilated, Sherman said, pointing to where that first UFO was seen. It went over some poplar trees there that are probably 40 to 50 feet tall. That's the first time we realized it wasn't an RV.
Like what? Yeah. What are these tracks? Did they just look like wheel tracks?
I just got the impression that they're like depressions in the ground.
Okay.
Like, I don't think there's any particular description of like what they are, but they do, like I said, they liken some of it to crop circle stuff. You know,
that's the thing, because like they were bringing up both four-wheelers and crop circles, and I was trying to figure out how you confuse the two.
He's just saying that like they thought the lights were an RV, but there's also these depressions in the area.
Okay.
Where the mutilations are happening of these cattle.
The missing cows and like the missing tree, since there's always the circles. What if it's just the doorways opening up on the ground and they're fucked up and the cow falls through to the other dimension or whatever?
Yeah, what if it's like a portal situation? A door opens up beneath a cow, but also opens up like pretty high in the sky.
That's one.
The cow just fucking falls out.
And they do that thing where the portals are like on top of each other, so it just keeps falling forever and reaches terminal velocity.
And
then they launch.
And then they open up a portal in a normal like sort of like trajectory sort of area, and the cow just gets fucking launched.
It's Mach 3.
This is the weirdest cow mutilation I've ever seen. It seems like it was shot out of a cannon at terminal velocity.
Exploded. And that's the thing. This is the reason why these get brought up, is like they're not like it's not like the cow fucking splattered, right? Like it's usually like there was like pieces removed and it looks surgical is usually what happens with these
and hey, if this was surgery, it was bad surgery because they killed their patient.
That's right. They did surgery on a grape, you know.
Shut the fuck up.
So Sherman goes on and says, it looked like headlights, but they were a little ways away from the craft, and there was a red glowing thing about an 18-inch circle. It just lit the whole side of the mountain up like broad daylight. In the months to follow, the Shermans saw myriad lights and flying objects, including more than a dozen on one evening. Sightings generally occur during a new moon and often when the sky is overcast or stormy. Their most recent encounter took place in May during a thunderstorm.
May of this year?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, this is the article. Okay.
This is the article, so this is back in 96.
Okay. I was like, there's no fucking way.
No. Terry and his son believe they may have communicated with one of the craft. As they traveled west on the ranch road one evening, they saw a lighted object duck behind the rock ridge as if to avoid them. Moments later, they managed to sneak up on the object. Before it could hide again, they stood and waved their arms at it. The light flashed on and off 3 times as if signaling them, and then disappeared.
There's the alien just like walking down and just, oh shit.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
And then they got
oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They're skittish.
Yeah, they're really worried about failing their stealth missions.
Right.
You know?
This is what we know about gray aliens, which is what I have decided these are. They're very, very nervous and skittish. I mean, that is kind of a thing though, where like UFOs seem to notice you in some stories, and they hide from you or they signal back to you. They do like a funny little light show for you.
Yeah, I wish they would just like put it like a screen on the outside and they just like fucking broadcast their own TV shows.
Yeah, they should put like a oh god, what are they called? Like a ticker.
Like a stock ticker.
Yeah, that like announces their news. Like, today we will be mutilating cattle at 2 p.m.
Oh, that would be good. Like they give their schedule.
Yeah,
you see one stop and you see the screen come out, and it does that meme from like 13 years ago, the chipmunk turning around, or the
Yeah.
or the ground, or the
That'd be-
prairie dog.
Prairie dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it's that meme is disturbingly older than 13 years ago.
It's
Yeah.
gotta be.
When you said 13, I was gonna be like, try 20.
I was gonna say
20,
like
yeah.
look 15 to 20, somewhere in
It's
that
like,
range. We're old.
that was like a
I
not
was
an
trying to
original
safe
meme,
gamble.
but it was pretty.
I
early.
would say it's a pretty
It's an
Pretty
aged classic.
Now it's aged like a fine wine.
That's right.
NFT collection dropping soon.
Oh fuck, dude. Who has the rights to the turning gopher
I
meme?
don't know.
So
me.
oh shit, dude. Well, let's make bank.
yeah.
Let's get that NFT cooking. Let's fire up our servers, dude. So soon after the sightings began, the Shermans found one of their cows dead in a field. It had a peculiar hole in the center of its left
Garrett.
eye. Garrett, you're on.
I've heard, yeah, of course, familiar with this one.
Garrett's just like fucking leaning over this cow with a magnifying glass, just staring directly into one of its holes. I won't tell you which one though.
Well, Mr. Sherman,
Was it a
it's a
mysterious
hole.
one? Maybe.
Yeah. It had a peculiar hole in the center of its left eyeball, but was otherwise untouched with no trace of blood. There was no evidence of predators, footprints, or tire tracks. A strange chemical-like odor was present. Later, another dead cow was found with a similar hole in its left eye and a 6-inch hole, only about an inch deep, carved out of its rectum.
Okay.
Garrett was here. The same chemical smell was noticeable. Cattle mutilations have been reported across the United States since the 1960s, particularly in western states. In classic mutilation cases, and these are classic, baby, the anus is cored out and the cow's udders and genitalia are removed, all with laser-like precision and no visible sign of blood. The Shermans, who keep close watch on their cattle, believe they have interrupted the mutilators before they were able to finish. Then cows began disappearing altogether. So, getting launched.
Why was my first thought was they gave these aliens blue balls.
These aliens are freaks.
They
Are you
interrupt
saying
them
that
before
These
they can
aliens
finish.
are fucking sick.
Are you saying the aliens are fucking cutting up these cows and cranking their little dicks off?
aliens are flying over a field? They see a cow down there, and they do the onion
get-
like sickos. The ha, 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 yes.
They get so horned up they can't help themselves.
Yeah.
That's sick.
These
That's a
aliens
sick-
need to be in jail for
For
something.
real.
Look, after you've gone all over the cosmos, you got to be into
Space
some sick
jail.
shit to like to really like get
They've
going
been
anymore.
desensitized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've jerked off and had sex with so many things that they've had so many sensory pleasures, but none quite like the cow mutilation pleasure. That's fucked up.
Everybody knows once you've experienced everything, the only thing that can get your rocks off is killing and mutilating a cow.
I'm pretty sure the Marquis de Sade wrote that in one of his books.
Gotta
Well,
be.
they also always love assholes. Like aliens are all about fucking
Like,
assholes.
what in the hell
They
is
love
this?
butts.
If you ever need them,
Have you ever seen a gray alien's rectum?
No, maybe they're jealous.
Yeah, they're trying to
Yeah.
figure out what that thing's for. So they keep taking samples because
Aliens
have
have got hole envy.
Yeah. So-
Intergalactic Hole Envy is my new favorite like jam band.
So, one cow appeared to be lifted from the snow where it stood. The Shermans
Yoink.
The Shermans said the cow's hoof prints led into the field, but the prints stopped at the edge of the field near some trees. This is a cow that disappeared. by the way.
Moo.
Yeah, they're pulling the cow up in the air, and you hear the Doppler effect on the mooing of the
Yeah.
cow. That's an old It Gets Weird meme.
Yeah, hey Kyle, what is the Doppler effect?
Oh, it's where you hear a noise from something as it moves very fast past you. So this is a cow that's Dopplering out of reality into a UFO.
That's kind of what the Doppler effect is. You're not entirely wrong.
So the area where the cow apparently took its last steps was surrounded by a circle of broken twigs and branches. Above, Terry noticed the tops of the trees appeared to have been cut off. If it's snow, it's hard for a 1,200 or 1,400 pound animal to just walk off without leaving tracks, or to stop and walk backwards completely and never miss their tracks.
We can't know it wasn't a big eagle.
That's true. Well,
A whole squad of eagles.
very
No, just one
funny.
big one.
Yeah.
It's very funny that you should mention a large bird of prey, because that comes in later as well.
I would like to say I think any being, no matter its size, would be hard for like the tracks just to disappear in the middle of the snow.
Yeah, right.
Like it doesn't need to be 1,400-pound cow. It could just be a fucking like even tracks from like a fucking
Anything
small dog.
Yeah, anything you just see the tracks just end in the snow, you unfortunately can know something bad
Something
happened.
weird
Now,
happened.
if it were a small dog, the option of it being carried away by a bird is much more likely.
Exponentially higher.
Now-
Yeah, it's really like an inverse thing between weight and possibility of being taken away by a bird.
Right, right. Well,
Is a scale.
let's scientifically extrapolate from the bird theory and say,
Mhm.
what if it was multiple eagles?
Yeah, a
What if
squad of eagles.
What
yeah.
if the eagles unionized and they got together?
I think that
And-
if a flock of eagles unionized, I think they could accomplish horrible things.
I was gonna say, I think if a flock of eagles unionized, it'd be over for humans.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
yeah,
We're cooked.
I would be worried.
Just like entire unions just swooping down and carrying humans away to giant nests.
Look, all I can say is the power of the collective is much greater than that of any
Exactly.
individual. So
Exactly.
pro union.
This has been a coded socialism moment.
Yeah, this has been a metaphor for why we should have unions. Work together and you can carry off a cow.
That's right. That hey, you're thinking like
the products of your labor.
Yeah, the
You're-
cow being fair pay and equal rights.
I was thinking like a fucking late 19th century fucking rustler. So the last of the 3 dead cows was found in January in a clump of trees at the edge of the same field. The cow, which had been seen alive by the Sherman's son just 5 minutes earlier, had a 6-inch wide, 18-inch deep hole cored out of its rectum and extending into the body cavity.
The fact you keep saying cord is
Yep.
is visceral.
Pretty bad, right? Pretty
Yeah.
bad. There was no blood on the cow or the snow, and the same chemical odor was apparent. There was a circle of twigs around the fallen cow, and the tops of the trees appeared severed. So,
You had to
cows,
buzz in low to pick up the cow, so the tops of the trees are fucked up.
yes,
And then they had to use they were going for. I think a lot of cattle mutilations can be can be explained by the fact that the aliens are going to get like a soil sample, and their coring thing just misses
the
right
cows
into
are just
cow's rectum
Cows
every
are just
time.
wrong place, wrong time.
Can you picture how pissed off the aliens are getting the 4th time they actually drill a cow's asshole,
God
trying to
damn
get
it.
dirt samples?
Another fucking cow.
Hey, let's consider the inverse of this. Maybe the cows are just really horned up and are desperate for some ass play and just like don't know how else to get it.
Maybe the cows are the freaks.
Yeah, we don't know. And so they keep they're like, oh shit, this big phallic object's drilling into the ground. I better run my asshole into it. I don't know. It's a theory.
We'll put that as option C.
Oh, who knows? It could be the cows. The cows could be sexual. That's it. So
Cows gone sexual.
Imagine if like if a cow's like rectal lining is just like oddly useful in like perfume production, like some
Oh,
niche
yeah.
industry that no one's really like aware of. Like what so it just you can explain away cattle mutilation by like profiteering.
Yeah,
in
it's like-
some niche industry.
it's what Blue 3 is made of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what I've just described is only a small portion of the sightings that have supposedly occurred at the Skinwalker Ranch in the greater Utah Basin area. And I have quite a few other encounters to describe to you guys. So, there's a supposedly indestructible and extra large wolf that stalks the area.
What?
Yeah, the Shermans at some point claim to have been visited by this
Immortal
creature.
wolf. We've all heard.
It's an immortal wolf. Everybody knows about the immortal wolf.
It's the actual wolf god.
Yes. There's a single immortal wolf that stalks the United States. And if you run into him,
He's just hanging out.
well,
Is he voiced by Johnny Cash?
yes, Johnny Cash is the immortal wolf now. Johnny Cash as the immortal wolf, liberating Folsom Prison. They let a wolf in there.
It was a fucked up where when Johnny Cash died, the wolf like sucked his soul in and merged
That's-
with him. Like it was
The wolf took in Johnny Cash's last breath.
Yes. And his remarkable music skills.
The certainty and in sync between you two going yes just really took me off guard. I felt very validated in that moment.
Yeah, there's an indestructible god wolf named Johnny Cash on the property. And this wolf showed up And supposedly the Shermans, this happened on the first fucking day of their life at the ranch.
Honey, there's a wolf outside.
Well, it's not in the original Deseret News article. It's in George Knapp's article about the place, which you guys know George Knapp as the replacement host of Coast to Coast AM. He also does a lot of UFO and
we've also
stuff.
had him as we've talked about his research on the show before.
Yes.
I think.
Yes. So he's a big name in ufology and the paranormal and stuff. So this story, this is basically the wolf shows up and it seems like really chill at first, and it comes close to Terry. In fact, I think in one of the versions of the story, the wolf actually like just is like nuzzling him. It like comes up and like rubs its head on him and like, oh, okay, this wolf seems very nice.
Kind of a welcome to the neighborhood kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And then the wolf gets near a calf pen. And that's when, so the wolf goes up, nuzzles him, and he's like, oh, you mind if I take a look at your wares?
What happens next?
You just get the to be continued stinger as it like gazes and starts running towards the calf pen.
Yeah. Well, okay, it moves near the calf pen, and that's when Terry claims to have taken out his magnum and shot the wolf 4 times. And each time he did so, the wolf was completely unfazed.
Each time he did it, the wolf got 5% larger.
Yeah, yes, it absorbed the bullets and grew larger and more powerful. It wasn't until Terry busted out a fucking shotgun and shot the thing twice that he noticed any visible damage on the creature. So he like shoots it with a magnum 4 times, nothing happens, goes and gets a shotgun, shoots this thing twice with the shotgun, and he's like, oh, I like destroyed some fur and a little bit of flesh.
Man's determination. I am gonna kill this fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want it killing the calves, right? So
yeah. So the immortal wolf god must die.
Yes.
Literally went from nuzzling it to trying to kill it over the course of about 10 seconds.
What they don't include in this story is how each time he pumped the shotgun, he yelled, "I'm gonna fucking get you, Johnny Cash."
Yeah, there you go.
So
we're a Merle Haggard family.
Yes. So he actually damages it with the shotgun, and when he does so, the wolf is said to have just like backed up and then, quote, stared at Terry with icy blue eyes, then just quietly walked off the property.
Okay.
And when they followed the tracks of this wolf to try and hunt it down, the tracks suddenly disappear as if the wolf had vanished into thin air.
Okay, so we're getting I'm sensing a theme here. A lot of disappearing tracks. Like tracks just kind of ending.
Yes.
And that could be aliens, or it could just be, a guy walking around with a brush.
This is the most nightmarish spot for animals due to the eagle situation. True. Like the birds are picking up wolves.
This is the only place that pterodactyls still exist.
Wow.
And will just take out anything.
That is so funny you say that, because one of the things that they see later in the investigation is some people believe it was a pterodactyl.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So
I was like,
we were getting to that. Yeah, spoiler alert, we were getting to that.
I don't know if that's a thing that I just like subconsciously remembered.
Maybe. I don't know if we brought it up I can't remember if we brought it up in the original episode.
I don't know.
We missed a lot.
I think I might have come across that one.
I know I've heard it before.
Yeah. There's also paranormal activity here at the ranch, of course. Often this involved objects being moved suddenly or disappearing entirely. One story describes Gwen Sherman bringing in groceries, unpacking her items onto the counter, getting distracted and turning away for mere moments, only to turn around and find that the groceries had all been put back into the bags. Pack that shit and get out of here.
It's very particular spirit, I guess, that makes sure everything is unpacked according to best practices.
They kind of make it sound like there's poltergeist activity in the house and stuff.
Okay.
The actual ranch itself. They also mention, reminds me of the Borley Rectory episode a few weeks ago, but supposedly there are apparitions of faces in the windows that you can see too, in addition to the poltergeist activity. But who could forget the UFO sightings? That is really what this place is known for.
That's what you come for. And then when you get there, you're excited for Wolf God and poltergeists.
You come for the UFOs, you stay for the wolf god and the poltergeist.
Or if you're an
a
alien,
fun little entryway gallery on the way to the good shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're talking strange orbs of light in the sky. Even I saw one that was a jellyfish like light in the sky,
Ooh, we
very much
love
like
it.
an atmospheric beast, which is a thing that we have covered on this show a few years ago now.
Yeah, a little while ago.
Which are basically like interdimensional creatures that float around in our atmosphere. If you believe friend of the show George Knapp, and yes, he is a friend of the show, there's even been UFO sightings and paranormal phenomena generally in the area well before any official documentation has been made about them. So here's George Knapp's perspective. He has a 2-part article called Path of the Skinwalker on a website that's basically, I think it's for a thing called, it's maybe for his book called Hunt for the Skinwalker.
Okay.
So here's what he says. Some very strange things have happened at the precise spot where I am sitting. It is here that a visitor was accosted by a roaring but nearly invisible creature, something akin to the Predator of movie fame. It is here that
Okay.
It is here that a PhD physicist reported that his mind was invaded, literally taken over by some sort of hostile intelligence that warned him that he was not welcome. It is here that an entire team of researchers watched in awe as a bright door or portal opened up in the darkness and a large humanoid creature crawled out before quickly vanishing. And it is here that several animals, cattle and dogs, were mutilated, obliterated, or simply disappeared.
I love how quickly a reaction the word obliterated obliterated to.
That's one of those like key words that will always make me and Garrett chuckle. Obliterated, vaporized, things like that.
Atomized gets me
Yeah.
really good.
Now, here's the thing about this. The large humanoid creature coming out of a portal, a hostile intelligence taking over somebody's mind, these are all things that come from an investigation by NIDS, who we'll get into. I'm national. I have
think
it
we
in my
talked-
notes.
I think
somewhere.
that was in the documentary. we
It's
watched.
it's in the documentary. It's I believe brought up in the original episode, but we'll get into NIDS in a little bit here. Whereas like the
National
cattle
Institute of
mutilations.
Dark Souls.
What's up?
The National Institute of Dark Souls.
Yes, yes, exactly. I wish. I'm forming that one, by the way. That's
Yeah.
my new
It's two.
organization.
Spearheading the committee. Not going to be like Souls likes in general. Just
Nope.
Dark Souls.
No Souls like. It's all the Souls games.
Okay.
And anybody's welcome to join as long as they're willing to get good. So for as long as anyone can remember, this part of northeastern Utah has been the site of simply unbelievable paranormal activity. UFOs, Sasquatch, cattle mutilations, psychic manifestations, creatures that aren't found in any zoos or textbooks, poltergeist events, you name it, residents here have seen it. Now pause on this shit, George Knapp.
Yeah.
This, in my understanding, in my personal research, all the things he just described are stories that start getting passed around in this very small community after the very, very public situation with the Shermans.
Yeah. So
Just to be clear.
it's stuff that came about after the little boom period.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that there were people like talking about UFOs in the area well before all this, because that is a phenomenon that has been a big fucking deal since the 50s. And it's just the kind of place where you would get those stories passed around. But stories of all kinds of crazy shit, that I think does not happen until after 1996.
It's apocryphal.
They
Yes.
spoke it into existence.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, that's I think pretty much exactly right.
A lot of the stuff happens like that, where like if one thing happens somewhere, then all of a sudden everyone is just like, "Oh, I saw it too. I saw this. I
Yes.
saw this," and it just turns into like a media circus.
Yes, and I also
I believe it all. That
Ye- yeah.
it
Well,
all
I know you do.
becomes true when you say
Well,
it.
okay, and that's why. And let me just say this right now. This episode is kind of me revisiting this is actually kind of a backdoor pilot to get into my episode that I would really like to go over, which has to do with what may have really been going on at Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, okay.
Which Garrett will not be here for that part because we don't have
Methamphetamine.
time. No, much worse.
No. Shit.
We don't have, but so let me just put it this way: we will have very soon a follow up episode to this one that is basically all about debunking Skinwalker Ranch and the government's involvement. So
Interesting. Okay.
Kyle told me he doesn't want me to be here for that because he wants to protect me.
It will shatter your
Yeah.
your love of this place a
I
little bit,
appreciate
maybe.
it.
It's actually all about ketchup, not ranch there.
That's
Like,
right.
That's
Yeah, the whole
God.
everything hinges on ketchup. And isn't that frankly just when you compare
Makes
it to
me sick.
Yeah, it makes
I'm
me sick
nauseous.
to my stomach. I like ketchup, but when you compare the two, it's like ketchup has applications on like potatoes, and that's about it. Ranch, you can dunk anything you want,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Carrots, pizza, potatoes.
I like that. Yeah, I'm not a ranch person, so I'm staying out of this discussion. But and I'm not a ketchup person either. So really, like I'm not helpful here.
I'll dip a chicken nugget in some ketchup.
Yeah, okay, that's
Every
fair.
once in a
That's fair.
while.
Chicken nugget, but like
Or a tendy.
yeah, but like imagine like cutting up a chicken breast and dipping it in ketchup. That sounds awful.
Spatchcocking a chicken and then just drowning it in like fucking great value ketchup.
Yeah. So there is a limit to ketchup where I could see ranch on a chicken breast. I could.
I'm picturing it. In my, I'm rotating it in my mind.
It's a new segment. Can Kyle picture this dish?
Picture this dish. All right, guys. I want you to describe a dish for me, and I'm gonna form that in my mind real quick.
Big question. What dish is it?
So, retired school teacher Junior Hicks is the area's unofficial historian for all things weird. And side note, a UFO guy. He's into UFOs. He's invested in it being a UFO hotspot. Okay.
Huh. Okay.
He's not mentioned as being a big UFO guy here, but let me tell you right now, he is. He's cataloged 400 or so incidents. I don't know what word I was about to say there.
400 introverts.
Yeah.
He's cataloged 400 or so incidents, most of them involving UFO sightings, but says there have been thousands of other cases. Hicks estimates at least half of the 50,000 residents of this basin have seen weird things in the sky. Flying saucers, cigar-shaped craft, zigzagging balls of light, so many different objects that local police and the highway patrol long ago stopped taking reports. Many of the lawmen have been witnesses themselves.
Of course the cops don't care.
Of course not. Hicks and members of his family have witnessed their own UFO events for over the years. The UFO activity really started getting intense in the early 50s, Hicks says. There were cases where the whole school and all the teachers saw these things hovering over the town and in broad daylight. In the 60s and 70s, we probably had more UFO sightings than any place in the world. Now, when I looked into this, the first official UFO report that I could find in the area came in like the late 70s.
Okay.
Each Sherman family member had repeated sightings of a cloud that usually hovered just outside the property. The cloud was characterized as having, quote, blinking Christmas tree lights or, quote, silent mini explosions inside.
I like the second one a lot better. Silent mini explosions is a lot cooler than blinking Christmas lights.
Yeah, the UFOs just found an especially juicy cumulus and started lighting off fireworks.
Yeah.
It's like the little 2D fucking like vine explosions going off on the UFO all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Among
Not
the
vine, whatever.
No, I know what you mean.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
I think I know what you mean.
Like the little like pasted graphics of like
Like-
the explosions like people put on YouTube videos.
He's talking about like just like a
Like a
like
2D
blingy
graphic.
explosion.
Oh, a blinky.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
That's the kind of thing we're looking
Yeah,
for.
Yeah,
notably,
blingy, that's it.
notably,
Turns out
Could
Kyle
not
cannot-
find blingy in the
Turns out
in the
Kyle
memory bank
cannot
there.
picture this dish.
notably, the Shermans did in fact experience blingy in 1996 when it appeared in the sky over the ranch.
It had Snoop
where they
Dogg
got the
doing
idea.
bus driver and everything.
Yeah, yeah. They got like Snoop Dogg doing a dance and stuff in the sky and like a big cigar.
Grr dancing.
Grr, yeah. Yeah, one that says that bitch and stuff.
With like the
a big
neon
glittery,
pink
yeah,
art.
glittery text in the sky that says
Forget about it.
go ahead, call the cops. I'll have sex with them.
What?
Among the other aerial craft seen by the Shermans, their neighbors and other witnesses were classic flying saucer objects, flying sombreros, shafts of light similar to fluorescent light bulbs, and a cigar-shaped craft several football fields long. By far the most common objects they witnessed were floating spheres of different sizes and colors. In 1995 and 96, the Shermans and others reported 12 separate incidents of seeing large orange circles flying over the trees of the center homestead. Terry claims that holes occasionally open up in the orange spheres, and other smaller spheres would fly out. A neighboring rancher told this reporter of his own encounters with what he called a flying orange basketball. So there's a UFO that's opening up and sending out little orange drones.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
By early 1996, the sightings of blue spheres at the ranch became almost commonplace. Nice complementary colors there.
Yeah.
Portal.
I was going to say,
Right.
yeah, it's portal,
Shit,
portal
it
colors.
is portal. These orbs were said to be about the size of a softball, made of glass and filled with bubbling blue liquids.
Bubbling glue.
Bubbling glue.
Hit shit and just
Yeah, they
real
really,
big mess.
Yeah. And then you peel it off and it's all weird and gross. It's kind of like peeling off a sunburn,
But it's
you
so
know?
fascinating.
But it's fun to do. You guys ever do that?
I used to do that in elementary school where you would just like
You would put
didn't?
glue
you could-
on
Yeah,
yourself.
you
Who
could put
didn't?
glue on yourself, and then you'd also make like your bookmark on in your
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember
box?
making the blue
Yeah.
bookmarks. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Kids are fucking weird. So, Mr. and Mrs. Sherman say that in April 1996, they watched one of the blue orbs repeatedly circle the head of one of their horses. The horse was illuminated by an intense blue light,
Oh.
and there was a sound like static electricity in the air, but this wasn't ball lightning. The orb seemed to be intelligently controlled. When Terry approached the horse with a flashlight, the orb darted off, maneuvering through tree branches with speed and dexterity. The Shermans say the blue spheres seemed to generate severe psychological effects on the family.
I was going to say on the horse.
Yeah, the horse hasn't been the same ever since. The horse actually the following year shot himself. Family members felt waves of fear roll over them, far in excess of what might be normal.
I'm just still stuck on these little blue softballs emitting
Just-
mind blasts at this horse.
Electrocuting and psychologically damaging a horse. It was the appearance of one blue orb in particular that finally convinced the Shermans to sell the ranch. One evening in May 1996, Terry was outside with 3 of his dogs when he noticed a blue orb darting around in the field near the ranch house. Terry urged his dogs to go after the ball.
Kill.
The dogs chased and snapped at the orb, but it dodged and maneuvered enough to stay just beyond the reach of their snapping jaws. The ball led the dogs out across the pasture and into the thick brush that borders the field. Terry says he heard the dogs make 3 terrible yelps, then they were silent. He called for them, but they didn't respond. The next morning, Terry went to look for the dogs. What he found were 3 round spots of dried and brittle vegetation. In the middle of each circle was a black, greasy lump.
Oh no.
Terry surmised that his dogs had been incinerated by something.
Oh, god damn it. My dogs got voiped.
I'm sorry, it happened again.
Yeah.
It,
I think
we
this might
can't
be one of the
escape.
might be one of the earlier cases of dog death.
This
in
is
the
one of the
podcast.
original dog death topics. One thing for sure, the dogs were never seen again. The disappearance
I mean,
of the
they're right there.
dogs-
They're in a black,
Yeah.
slimy lump.
Yeah, he scooped them up and he put them in a little urn, a little doggy urn. One thing for sure, I'm sorry.
Sorry
that
I had to vaporize your dogs.
was blue orb torturing horses and vaporizing dogs, dude. Give me a break.
You won't let me commit psychic blast at your horse?
What?
Well,
What?
fine. Your dog must end.
What if the dog died because?
What if the dog just
caught the
did
orb?
that?
Sorry. Well, you mean just evaporated on command?
Spontaneous
What-
combustion?
What did you say now?
I was saying the dog caught the orb and like ate it, and that's what
Oh.
caused it to explode
Yeah,
and kill the
yeah.
dog and vaporize it.
yeah, that's I'm like a dog chasing an orb.
Yeah. What'll I
don't
do
know
if I ever
well,
catch it?
I'll fucking explode. I'll get
Vaporize.
vaporized instantly.
Instantly.
The disappearance of their dogs prompted the Shermans to think about getting out. So, like, they want to leave.
No, you're right. I was like, oh, that's what finally did it.
And here's
If I had 3 dogs and they all got incinerated by a
Vaporized.
floating blue
Yeah.
orb, I would leave as well.
seemingly at around the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd be like, you know what?
and
This one's a loss. We're
Here's-
just going to dip.
here is one of the weird facts about. I don't have the exact numbers, but one of the weird facts about when the Shermans move out is they sell the ranch at a loss.
Okay.
They get out at a loss, and that is one of the things that believers will point to be like, oh, they wanted out legitimately because they were so frightened of the place. They took the loss. So that is one thing, I guess, quote unquote, in favor of the believing the story. So the same year that the Sherman family went public in the Deseret News, Robert Bigelow stepped into the picture. And just so people have a nice little teaser, my episode covering the reality of the Skinwalker Ranch is almost entirely focused on Robert Bigelow.
I had a feeling, because he's like, when we watch the documentary, he's the one that shows up towards the end, right? And like is like not on screen or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's the one that is on screen and the one before him wasn't. I forget.
Yeah.
But the last guy that came in always seemed like there was more to it.
Well, the last guy is a mysterious one for a couple of years.
Right.
I'll mention that here as well, but we got to get to it. So, yeah, this is like when the tenor of the whole fucking thing changes, in my opinion. Bigelow, for those who may not be aware, he's a millionaire who made his money in real estate, and he eventually pivoted to aerospace science and technology. He's also genuinely into the paranormal and UFO phenomenon. So here we have the official version of events, the events that have solidified Skinwalker Ranch in the paranormal and UFO canon as quote-unquote legitimate. So he pays the Shermans $200,000 for the ranch, ends up turning it into a research facility for his organization known as the National Institute for Discovery Science, NIDS. And they're going to start a project to figure out what's going on at the ranch. Again, this is after the Shermans have come forward being like, it's a whole cornucopia of paranormal and UFO activity. So he ends up hiring psychologists, engineers, physicists, biologists to research this place and then locks it down. He also gets former military security guards to help keep it protected from people who might want to get on the ranch, which I do believe UFO enthusiasts have tried to get on the ranch a number of times in the past.
Oh, makes sense.
He puts together a science advisory board and then brings in quote-unquote state-of-the-art equipment, supposedly. Now, the early years of research at the ranch, NIDS was basically 3 people, a veterinarian, a physicist, and a biochemist. And the Shermans had moved like 25 miles away from the ranch. But Terry Sherman, the husband, the father, he kind of agreed to remain the ranch manager, and he would come and care for livestock, but he no longer lived there. And he would be in contact with NIDS, and NIDS kind of, at least according to the official story, used him as paranormal bait.
Wow. Okay.
So they would put together pairs of people to investigate the ranch, and then they would bring a dog along with them to make rounds on the ranch to see if stuff was going down.
We need to get this dog incinerated.
We need to caramelize this dog. So one of the big names that you will find hired for research at the ranch is Dr. Colm Kelleher, who is a biochemist with 15 years of cell and molecular biology experience. And all these people with their like experience is the reason why people will be like, okay, NIDS is legitimate and therefore Skinwalker Ranch is legitimate and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Kelleher was the deputy administrator of NIDS, and he did a lot of documenting the events that transpired at the ranch. Now, the team's veterinarian would be the one that kind of looked over the cattle to find what was going on with cattle mutilations, supposedly found no outwards cause of death, and oftentimes the bodies that were retained from the mutilations were so far along in their decomposition that there couldn't be any more analysis done. So
these bodies were basically turned to soup.
Yeah, basically. Okay. Cow soup. Yum, yum. And then, of course, George Knapp was
Any
there.
kind of stew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. George Knapp, who does a lot of journalistic work on UFO stuff, he came in, and he's a little controversial. Some people think of him as a disinfo guy. Others think he's like the biggest real deal UFO researcher we've got. And then it's like Knapp shows up to the ranch while NIDS is working there, and supposedly like immediately starts experiencing like UFO activity, just like seeing orbs and stuff.
Okay.
And so he's like grouped up with one group, and there's another group at a different part of the ranch. and they're just waiting. And Knapp's group sees a bright yellow orb of light shoot out from behind this ridge. And they watch it, and it moves silently but swiftly about the speed of a jet airplane. And I guess it supposedly circled in a perfect 360-degree loop before shooting back across the ridge.
Turned 360 degrees and walked away.
Yeah.
I literally was thinking that. And I was trying to decide if I should say it or not.
Yeah.
I'll take that bullet for
That's
you.
fair.
Now, here's the thing. Because this event with this UFO was so sudden, they were not able to properly document this event with photos or videos. So they just have their personal testimonies.
A likely story.
Right. So in January of 1997, activity at the Skinwalker Ranch supposedly began to escalate. Terry Sherman would call in with more news of activity to NIDS, and it was, instead of just orbs flying around the place, more cows had been mutilated.
This has got to stop.
I just wanted to circle back for a second. We were really seeming to dismiss they couldn't get any cameras or anything out. I told you guys about seeing the Wienermobile a couple weeks ago.
You're right.
That's
You
true.
did.
So I saw the Wienermobile again. A second time that I
Hell
did
yeah.
not tell
But
you
you
guys
still
about.
didn't get a
Still did
didn't get a
not
photo.
have enough
Yeah,
time to
it's
get
the
my
elusive
phone out to get a
Wienermobile.
picture.
To be fair, you weren't running an organization specifically looking for the Wienermobile.
It's true. I was driving.
But you're kind of a one-man Wienermobile lookout crew, so
It's like 2 days later, I saw it by a town.
wow, a town.
Yeah,
Don't want to
won't
reveal your location.
geolocate.
That's fair. So there's a snowstorm. I got to get through some of this stuff kind of quickly.
Yeah, go.
There's an intense snowstorm, really intense. 3 calves are found with wounds in their ears and eyes, and 2 of them had circular spots cut out of their eyelids, while a third calf's ears had been shredded as if cut with scissors.
Oh.
They have the veterinarian come in and inspect them, and the veterinarian's like, "Yep, that's weird." And
Huh.
especially because it's like in the middle of a snowstorm. So like
Didn't
natural,
think snow could usually do this.
yeah. Well, natural predators aren't like typically like hunting in, at least according to this article, aren't typically hunting like this in the dire winter conditions. And then another calf mutilation happens in broad daylight a month later. And they're just like, yeah, we don't know what happened. We don't know what's killing these, and we don't know how they're killing them.
Portals.
So NIDS team, they come in from Nevada after receiving another call from Sherman, and they find an 85-pound calf that's dead, and it's spayed out spread eagle. One of its legs was pulled from the knee socket with force and was placed away from the body as though it were staged. And then all of its internal organs were no longer present, and the body was completely drained of blood. This is not how wolves do it, in case that's not clear.
really.
So
But is it how a wolf god does it?
it could be. That's the thing. Well, that's the thing is like if the wolf god is an actual skinwalker, then this shaman is like shape-shifting, indestructible, and maybe obliterating cows in the most vile ways possible. Or it's aliens, or it's
Just
both.
Fucking hates cows.
Yeah. Well, and one of the quote unquote theories about the place is that
It's cow hell.
it's cow hell. No, this is where cows go when they die and go to hell. No, the Ute and the Navajo broke a treaty in, I want to say, either the late 19th or early 20th centuries, and there was animosity between the two tribes.
Mhm.
So the lore follows that the, I believe, Ute cursed the Navajo land, or vice versa. I can't remember which. I'm sorry, but this is just one of many theories. They cursed the land and basically sicked a skinwalker on the area to
Okay.
just like fuck the place up because of the treaty being broken. They also claim that the mother of cow of the calf that was spread eagle. Jesus.
She sucked. They hated her.
Oh no,
So-
they described the mom as supposedly being in distress. I
I would
wonder
be
why.
too,
Yeah.
you know?
One of the calf's ears was missing, and it had been cut down neatly to the skull, but not torn off. And this is always the thing of like, if a predator had done this, it would have been rough and jagged and not precision, surgical.
Yeah,
stuff.
it wouldn't be a scalpel, it would be teeth.
Here's the final weird detail of this calf. The ear that was removed had sported a large yellow tag that was used to identify it, and they looked around the entire ranch and never found it. And they were just like, they basically described this as, people are like, oh, well, it's something taking a souvenir from its kill.
Was that what the rectum samples were too?
Yeah. No, that was
those had a use.
Yeah, those are Those are I'm not gonna make that joke actually. I stopped myself in advance.
Hot dogs.
Yeah, they're making some hot dogs with some cow buttholes.
Beef.
So, oh my god, so we have one more thing that I want to go over while we have Garrett here. This is one of the weirder things that has happened at the Skinwalker Ranch. We kind of talked about it earlier, but on March 12th, 1997, a bunch of barking dogs alerted one of the teams on the ranch to something that was just chilling in a tree near the ranch's house. And it was also spooking one of the calves, or a cow. So like the one cow had separated from the herd and was like frozen in a spot, presumably afraid.
Okay.
Near this tree. So something's lurking in this tree. And that's when Terry Sherman grabs a hunting rifle and takes off in his truck to the tree. And there's also two NIDS staffers following behind him in another vehicle. And up in the branches of this tree, they can see a big set of yellowish reptilian eyes.
Ooh.
And based on these eyes and like the distance and the size of the tree and stuff, they guess that the animal's head was somewhere around 3 feet wide.
Jesus. Okay.
At the bottom of the tree was something else. Sherman described it as huge and hairy with with massively muscled front legs and a dog-like head. Now, Sherman, who I guess is supposedly a crack shot, fired at both figures from a distance of 40 yards. The creature that was on the ground seemed to just suddenly disappear.
I will say, from what I've heard about Sherman, just in this episode, I might say he's not a crack shot. Just from his success rate that I've
wants
seen.
to try.
Well, but he did unload 4 shots from his Magnum into a wolf.
He says they hit him.
Right. That's true.
Either the wolf is immortal or he just sucks at shooting, and that's fine.
Let's be honest here. The Sherman family says a whole lot.
Yeah.
So the thing that was in the tree supposedly fell to the ground. Sherman claims that he heard it land heavily in the patches of snow below. Oh, this is in the middle of the snowstorm, by the way. The 3 men ran through the pasture and scrub bush, chasing what they thought was a wounded animal, but they never found an animal and saw no blood. A professional tracker was brought in the next day to look through the area, and they found nothing. However, there was a physical clue left behind. At the bottom of the tree, they found and photographed a weird footprint, or rather, a claw print. The print that was left in the snow was from something very large. This is, I guess, based on the deepness of the indentation from the clawed feet in the ground.
Okay.
And it had 3 digits with what they guessed were sharp claws on the end. They would analyze it later, and comparison of the prints led them to find a chilling similarity. The print from the ranch closely resembled that of a velociraptor, an extinct dinosaur made famous in the Jurassic Park films. And then there's a little note here from George Knapp that says, for the record, no one at NIDS is saying he shot a velociraptor. They just don't know what it was.
Yeah, and the tracks just seem, in line with that of a velociraptor.
Yes. And that is unfortunately where I got to cut this one off. There's some more phenomena that I'm going to get into in the next time I cover this, plus the things I described earlier. But unfortunately, Garrett's got to go. We're putting him down.
Yeah.
We're dragging him out back, and
they're taking me out to the pasture.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm a better shot than George Knapp.
Yeah.
Not George Knapp, Sherman. Fuck.
Oh my God, would it be funny if George Knapp was shooting shit?
That'd be great. Maybe he might be a
Garrett.
shooting enthusiast. He might.
Who knows? He
go
could
on the
be.
weekends.
I feel like he believes.
Could you imagine Just call down a flock of eagles to come get me.
Garrett's a druid that summons eagles at will to do his bidding.
Call Eagle.
Now,
Pull up my cell phone. I have an app.
you got Eagle.
They've
in
had to
contact.
modernize.
Eagle 1, Eagle 2. You have contacts in your phone labeled Eagle 1, Eagle 2, and Eagle 4. So I wanted Garrett here for the really fun paranormal and UFO stuff on this side of the episode.
So then he doesn't have to break my heart.
And I don't want to break your heart.
Yeah.
So that's going to conclude this episode, this retelling of Skinwalker Ranch.
Bigger, longer, and uncut.
That's right. And that's going to bring me to a big question. All right, here's my big question. Since we went pretty long, I want short but sweet answers.
Okay.
If you could assume the form of an animal and be immortal while in that form, what kind of gun would you like to get shot by?
I feel like there's always the fun thing in movies when like a Terminator or whatever will like take like a tank shell directly to the fucking face. So I think like if I were to be an immortal animal, and the animal,
You can choose an animal if you like.
I was gonna say, I think like something really, I would like to be something really small so the tank shell's more impressive.
Okay.
like a hamster or some shit.
A hamster just getting
Just getting mortared. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to be I would really love to be an especially large like bullfrog, and I want to get fucking operator sniped as a bullfrog. But I'm immortal, right? But
Yeah.
it would be fun to get sniped as an immortal. Be like, wow, I know what that experience is like, getting fucking taken out by a sniper rifle. That sounds kind of fun to me. Although I do appreciate the mortar shell idea.
Okay, the mortar shell cleared up. I was gonna be like, I don't know if this will count, but I'd love to be a cheetah, and I'd love to be shot with an RPG-7
There you go.
because I'm picturing in my head like running through like
fast
super
as fuck.
fast and jumping on like a small hill, and then someone hits me with an RPG.
See, when you first said Cheetos, I thought you were going to go with landmines.
Oh,
So you're just like running
That
across
was
the
really
field
good,
really
too.
fast and just going.
what is an RPG if not a mobile landmine?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's the old military adage.
And once again, I have done myself an utter disservice to the hardcore It Gets Weird fans to get them to believe that I actually support animals not being murdered.
Yeah, it's at this point we've
It's
leaned into
funny
it too
as
much
fuck.
that we
It's
just
a
have to
little
go
too
for
much.
it.
It's a little too much. Anyways, that's going to be Revenge of Skinwalker Ranch. And soon, very soon, Niall and I will be discussing the truth of Skinwalker Ranch while Garrett's precious little ears don't listen.
I'm gonna be sitting in a corner with some headphones on.
So that's going to be about it. Do you want to take care of some business?
All right. So if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird and we're probably there.
Email us at itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. What I don't
Animal, shell. Which one do you, what and what?
I don't know how badly I want to ask our listeners to tell us what animal they want to be when they get shot. So
Sure.
tell us your favorite story from Skinwalker Ranch.
Sure.
I haven't even covered all of them. There's so many. It's ballooned so completely out of control since the Shermans went public that there's a bajillion stories that I didn't even cover. So patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. At the $2 tier, we're doing It Gets Weird TV. We're watching Gravity Falls Season 2, watching a weird TV show. Every other week, you get access to It Gets Weird TV. Now, if you want content every single week, go to our $5 tier. You get It Gets Weird TV plus another show on the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV, where sometimes I do a show, sometimes Niall does a show, and then on rare occasions, we get Garrett to do a show. We do all kinds of
Very
shit.
rare.
And at the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to our mainline episodes 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. And you get access to our Discord where we're talking about all kinds of shit. That's where we were talking about the noodler killing his friend over Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, please donate. We also have a $1 tier, which is just you kick us $1. You don't get anything out of it. You're just saying, hey, I like your show. Here's a tip. If you can't donate, though, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
Thank you all for listening. This has been It Gets Weird. I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle. Thank you, Garrett, for joining us.
Bye.